Today's flipped lesson is lesson 23A, which is day number 3 of solving word problems that involve multi-step equations. All the objectives are the same as they've been the last few days. In order to do or solve word problems like this, we have to remember how to solve multi-step equations. In other words, the kind where we have to combine like terms, like in this sample. And we have to remember one of the things we've been working on the last few days, which is setting up equations for specific word problems. And whenever we're doing problems like this, we want to make sure that we set up the smallest thing first. In this sample problem, we're trying to find two numbers that have a sum of 180. One number is 18 bigger than the other, and as long as we make sure that the smallest thing is first, the smallest thing is always represented with the letter X. So in this case, if one number is 18 bigger than the other, and the first one is X, that makes the second one X plus 18. We are adding those two things together because of the word sum right here. And they're supposed to have a total of 180. So we would combine like terms and then solve like we normally do in any two-step equation. And we always need to make sure that we answer our questions with a sentence. And once again, always try and list the smallest thing first. Today's problem. Number 1. The width of a rectangle is 9 more than the length. So my first question is this. Which one is smaller, the width or the length? One more time, it says the width is 9 more than the length. So if you understand that, you should understand that the length is the smallest. And we also need to remember that what we're trying to do here is we're trying to find the perimeter of a rectangle. And when you're finding the perimeter, you have two widths and two lengths. And to find the perimeter of any shape, we need to add up all the sides. So we'll be adding up two widths and two lengths. Two widths and two lengths. And that is the key to setting this problem up. So once again, we need to list the smallest thing first. The length is the smallest thing. So we're going to list two lengths. And two lengths because we are adding up two lengths and then two widths. Lengths are listed first because they are smaller than the width. As long as we make sure to do that, then we can use X for our smallest thing. And I've got an X underneath of each length because we have two lengths, so two X's. The next thing that we need to think about here is the fact that in this problem it says that the width is 9 more than the length. Well, if the length is X, then that would make the width X plus 9. 9 more than the X. The other width would also have to be X plus 9. And remember, we are finding the perimeter, so we need to add these four sides together, X and X plus 9 and X plus 9, and that's supposed to have a perimeter of 50. So our equation, which is what we should always be writing on our line, our equation is X plus X plus X plus 9 plus X plus 9 equals 50. Now to solve this, we combine like terms, and most of you like to write a 1 in front of your variable without a number in front. So I will do that. And then we will gather our like terms. And as you can see here, I have 4 positive 1x's, so 4x, and then 2 positive 9's that are like terms, so plus 18 is equal to 50. So after we gather our like terms, we now have a simple two-step equation to solve. So I would like you to pause this video and solve that two-step equation. Then we'll talk about how to answer it. All right, to solve this, we of course subtract 18 from both sides. That is the inverse operation to adding 18. And then we divide both sides by 4 because that's the inverse operation to multiplying by 4, and we get x equals 8. And much like yesterday, we need to figure out what that x equals 8 represents. X equals 8 represents the length. And here's how I know that. If I look up in my setup, L, or length, is represented by x. So that means that the length is x, which means that the length is 8. And it would be 8, and then the width, as we can see, is 9 more than that. So 8 plus 9 is 17. So that means that the length is 8 and the width is 17. 9 more than that. And we always need to make sure we answer as a sentence. So the length is 8 and the width is 17. Make sure you write this sentence on your line for sentence. All right, let's move to the next problem. The length of a rectangle is 7 more than the width. If the perimeter is 70, find the length and the width. We need to think of what is smaller, the length or the width. I just highlighted the important part of that problem, that sentence. The length of a rectangle is 7 more than the width. The length is more than the width. So the width has to be listed first. And like the last problem, we're listing 2 widths because we are finding the perimeter. Every rectangle has 2 widths and 2 lengths. And as long as we make sure to list the smallest thing first, we can represent that with the letter or variable x. The first sentence once again says the length is 7 more than the width. If the width is x, that makes the length x plus 7. We are finding the perimeter, so we add up all of our sides. So our equation is x plus 7, or x plus x plus x plus 7 plus x plus 7, and that is supposed to be equal to 70. I would like you to pause this video, solve by combining like terms, get your answer of x equals something, and then answer the question as a sentence. All right, let's take a look at what we have. Once again, our equation would be x plus x plus 7 plus x plus 7, and that is supposed to be equal to 70. And the reason is there's one side, there's another side, those are both the widths, there's another side, that's a length, and that's a length. We add up all of our sides to find the perimeter. We combine like terms and we end up with 4x plus 14 equals 70. Subtract 14 from both sides. We've done enough of these two-step equations that part should be easy. Divide both sides by 4 and we get x equals 14. So what does that mean? X is the width. So that means that the width is 14. The length is 7 more than that. 7 more than 14 is 14 plus 7, which is 21. So that makes the width 14 and the length 21. If you did not get that, fix it and make sure you fill in the equation in the right spot and the sentence in the right spot. All right, I would like you to try the setup for this problem and then pause the video and then we'll take a look at it together. All right, first thing we need to decide is whether the length or the width is smaller. The very first sentence says the width of a rectangle is twice the length. That means the width is 2 times the length. So the length is smaller. So we're going to list it first. We're still finding the perimeter of a rectangle, so we have 2 lengths and 2 widths. The lengths will, of course, be x. They are the smaller. And now we have to think about what twice something means. Twice means times 2, so the width is 2 times as big as the length. If the length is x, then that would make the width 2x. Some of you may have put x plus 2, but it doesn't say 2 more than, it says twice. From there, we add up all the sides, and they're supposed to be equal to 96 because that is the perimeter. Go ahead and pause this video and finish the problem. All right, we combine like terms. We have a 1x, a 1x, a 2x, and a 2x. That makes 6x. When we divide both sides by 6, that leaves us with x equals 16. X equals 16 means that the length is 16, as we can see right there. And the width is 2 times or twice that big. 2 times 16 is 32. Twice 16 is 32. However you want to think about that. So the length is 16 and the width is 32. Make sure you have the correct equation and sentence in your notes. And our last problem for today is number 4. Go ahead and try number 4 all the way through. And of course, you should have paused the video. All right, let's take a look at this. The width of a rectangle is 3 times the length. The width is 3 times as big as the length. That means the length is smaller, and the perimeter is 112. So we list the length first, then the width. Both of the lengths would be represented by x. Both widths would be 3 times that, or 3x. We add up all 4 of those sides to make the perimeter of this rectangle, which of course, as it says in the problem, is 112. We combine like terms. We have 8 x's, 1x, 1x, 3x, and 3x. We divide both sides by 8. We get x equals 14. And by now you should get that. X equals 14 in this problem is the length. The width is 3 times that big. 14 times 3 is 42. So the length is 14 and the width is 42. And that is it for today's flipped lesson.